At this time, it is my duty to provide this year's State of the Fraternity Report. It is a great day to be a Pike. Those that have heard me speak before know that I often start my remarks with those very words, and today, those words remain as true as ever. Of course, there have been a lot of challenging days over the past year, challenging for everyone, both within and beyond Pi Kappa Alpha, all around the world. But better days do lie ahead, if we choose to make them so. If we continue to be resilient, only we can make that choice, however. For as past International President H. King Buttermore shared with me many years ago, leadership is a choice. We can choose to make tomorrow's Pi Ka even better than before, for I believe that the need for fraternities, the need for good fraternities, the need for Pi Kappa Alpha is more relevant today than perhaps at any time in our history. As I think back over the past 18 months, there seems to have been three very distinct periods of time. The fall of 2019 saw Pi Kappa Alpha well positioned to address many of the challenges which it had faced in recent years. Members' engagement and participation in Pike University events had achieved their highest levels in the past 5 years. Engagement through the Pike social media channels had reached all-time highs, and stories of positive chapter and member experiences could be found aplenty. New chapter facilities were being renovated or acquired for Pi Kappa Alpha at Texas, Utah, and Kansas, among others. The fraternity had launched U Lifeline to provide much-needed mental health assistance to its members. The fraternity industry, after a 3-year legal battle, saw Harvard reverse its discriminatory policy against single-sex organizations. The next 6 months, however, as a result of the pandemic, saw a time of adjustment, uncertainty, and change. Many of us got to go home from school for what we at first thought was an extended spring break. We got introduced to the Tiger King and terms such as social distancing, which, let's face it, for a fraternity, doesn't really come all that natural. Now, as we have settled into the last 6 months, much of what we have grown accustomed to, graduations, recruitment, college football, going to class, going to work, heck, going just about anywhere, along with countless other aspects of daily life have changed, not just for the short term, but in many ways, forever. Now, as of today, Pi Kappa Alpha stands at over 305,000 lifetime initiates with 230,000 living alumni, 212 chapters and provisional chapters, almost 16,000 undergraduate brothers, 190 alumni advisory boards, 149 alumni associations, and over 2,500 local alumni volunteers. Last year, over $2 million raised for charity and over 250,000 hours of community service. Pi Kappa Alpha maintains the most new members per chapter of any fraternity in North America, and the third most initiates per chapter of any fraternity. Now, while those data points are nice to note, as you'll hear, there is significant cause for concern, not just for Pi Ka, but for all fraternities. The current number of Pi Ka chapters is the fewest we've had since 1996, 25 years ago. Our overall initiations from the past year are the fewest we've had in over a decade. While the pandemic has brought some issues into greater focus, these are also the result of broader issues, many self-inflicted. Of note, 39 chapters have been closed over the past 5 years, a high watermark for any 5-year period in our history. Both total undergraduate membership and total initiations have been on a decline for 6+ years. And this goes beyond Pi Kappa Alpha as well. In the past 5 years alone, there are 310 total fewer fraternity chapters, having lost one every 6 days during that time period. Almost 35,000 fewer men in fraternities and 25,000 fewer men being initiated into fraternities, almost 25% less on an annual basis. And all of this was prior to July 2020. Then 2020 added another variable, one we hadn't seen in almost 100 years, a global pandemic. After assessing matters, the Supreme Council and International Fraternity took a series of actions to attempt to mitigate the impact of COVID-19, which included making the difficult decision to postpone the 2020 convention, engaging with industry leaders through an NIC COVID-19 think tank, development of the COVID-19 Pike Plan, which included maintaining weekly, if not daily, contact with chapters and host institutions, passing along the latest CDC guidance with opportunities for chapters to procure PPE and safety supplies, providing best-in-class virtual resources and a COVID-19 specific website, everything from recruitment and the continued utilization of Chapter Builder to new member education, providing Zoom accounts to chapters for meetings and ritual ceremonies, flexible financial planning, an enhanced focus on mental health resources, conversion of fall leadership summits to a virtual format, investment in diversity and inclusion resources and education, alumni mentorship and networking, and realizing the need for greater online education in the future, increased investment in the true Pike experience. Many of these resources and others remain available today. Now, on a chapter front, we saw responses to the pandemic fall into two camps, one of perseverance, resiliency, and adaptation, and another of delay, denial, and avoidance. I probably don't need to tell you which one has worked out better. And of course, we are all still right in the thick of this thing. For those that elected the denial and avoidance strategy, whether it was waiting till spring for the pandemic to pass, it's still here, denying that change is necessary to exist, or the outright abdication of leadership or responsibility, there will be further losses realized, unfortunately. It is likely that the pandemic will ultimately claim an additional 8 to 12 chapters before this year is complete, on top of the 39 lost in the past 5, many of which had substantial operational deficiencies which have only been exacerbated during this crisis. However, for those which elected perseverance, resiliency, and adaptation, the stories are quite remarkable. As I shared with Pike AA staff and volunteers, it would take a calm, confident, and competitive mindset not just to survive, but succeed through these times. And Pike AA's best and brightest have risen to that occasion. On a recruitment front, 14 chapters set all-time recruitment records amidst the COVID-19 pandemic by embracing true one-on-one, in-person recruitment strategies. Kansas State University hosted a virtual house tour which enabled them to show off their property to potential new members in a creative and safe way, a strategy they will continue to use into the future. Epsilon Gamma chapter, historically constrained by an antiquated formal recruitment format at Texas Tech University, hosted their first ever informal recruitment this fall. The chapter found great success through this structure and extended 54 bids. The Pi Kappa Alpha Provisional Chapter at Northwest Missouri State University recruited 26 men this fall, tripling its membership size. In the area of service, men from several chapters, Lamar, Monroe, LSU, UL Lafayette, McNeese, and Northwestern State, worked throughout September in several ways to clear debris, provide meals, and help clean up their communities following Hurricane Laura. In giving, the men of Zeta Sigma chapter at FIT were able to raise $85,000 for the American Cancer Society. The chapter volunteered their time and efforts to not only raise money for the cause, but also assist ACS with hosting the virtual event, which took place this fall. The men of Omega chapter at Kentucky raised over $20,000 at their annual Paint Wars philanthropy event. This event benefits a local advocacy agency for survivors of domestic violence. The men of Kappa Pi chapter at South Dakota were honored with the Outstanding Youth in Philanthropy Award from the Association of Fundraising Professionals. They are the first college organization to be recognized, and over the past 5 academic years have raised $200,000 with more than 80,000 service hours. And our men at Duke raised over $70,000 hosting their 5th annual Shave and Buzz philanthropy event, honoring brothers Bobby Menges and Mark Schreiber. This year was the first year the chapter had to host the event virtually and succeeded. In initiations this fall, our chapters virtually initiated and installed chapters at Delaware, Jacksonville State, Clemson, and Florida Atlantic. And numerous other chapters converted to virtual initiations, including the Gamma Xi chapter at Washington State University. This year also saw the value of fraternity and triumph through tragedy. When alumnus Bill Pavey of Indiana University Southeast passed away, the men of the Theta Kappa Alumni Association stepped in to honor his memory. Following Bill's 5-year battle with cancer, the home he shared with his wife was in need of repairs, and Bill's Pi Kappa Alpha brothers have spent almost 700 hours renovating his home. When LSU undergraduate Andre Navarre tragically passed away this fall, the men of Alpha Gamma Chapter stepped in to honor him. The chapter was able to raise funds to help Andre's family with funeral costs, and over 150 Pikes attended the ceremony. And following the tragic passing of Kyle Ward, University of Central Oklahoma brothers stepped in to honor his memory. The chapter started a GoFundMe to raise over $18,000 to assist Kyle's family with funeral costs, as well as provide support to numerous charities. Perseverance, resiliency, and adaptation. Calm, confident, and competitive. Friendship, love, and truth. Pi Kappa Alpha. Now, before the pandemic, realizing many of our current challenges, Pi Kappa Alpha engaged with a strategy firm to help us listen and learn to better understand our current reality. For years, we've heard various stakeholders, including our own alumni, question how we could use our collective and individual power and influence for the greater good. Over the past several years, we have been actively listening, even to the things that were difficult and painful to hear, and are committed to continued, intentional self-analysis and assessment. What we have learned to date through the largest ever assessment of Pi Kappa Alpha members and stakeholders was eye-opening. It noted that across every constituency group in the Pike life cycle, we are losing relevance. Less than a quarter of high school boys would consider rushing Pike, much less any fraternity. Generation Z, our current and future membership base, is the most racially and ethnically diverse generation in history, yet we have work to do to evolve our fraternity effectively to better engage them. Less than half of Greek women on campuses today, our sorority counterparts, believe that fraternity men respect women. And after graduation, we are not delivering on once a Pike, always a Pike. Our alumni volunteer rate is 2.4%, and our alumni giving rate is 1.4%. Beyond the numbers, we heard our own voices loud and clear. At times, we've missed opportunities to give back to our campuses and communities, and we've lagged in taking a leadership position around the cultural issues of our time. The pandemic has forced us to bring all of this into focus, a reimagining of Pi Kappa Alpha's purpose, our why. There is no going back to what fraternity life was like before COVID, but there is definitely a going forward. Video calls and virtual recruitment will only add to an already successful recruitment strategy. A robust virtual True Pike experience to track and enhance the in-person one. Alumni engagement, realizing how effective it can be in ways that a pandemic forced us to implement quickly. And I think we've all learned what is really important in member and new member education, bringing high-quality people into our chapter to ensure not just its survival, but its evolution and development, learning the values of fraternity history and operations throughout one's entire fraternal career. Not all the stupid nonsense, the hazing, which provides no value, makes some weak and insecure members feel artificially important, and leads to shuttered chapters. Right now, on college campuses throughout North America, young men are finding little to do and struggling to make friends. There is well-documented data of amplified loneliness. Dropout rates are at an all-time high. The best virtual activities, online classes, and support resources don't overcome Zoom's fatigue. Young men are quite frankly longing for a real college experience. Colleges and fraternities alike know that the outside the classroom experience and belonging is one of the best predictors of student retention. To me, all of this speaks to the need for good fraternities. Right now, starting in 2021, the need for Pi Kappa Alpha. And Pi Kappa Alpha will step up to meet this challenge and fill this need. A men's organization with a renewed sense of purpose, one focused on enhancing the lives of every single one of its members. One centered on elevating your life's ambitions, whatever they may be. One set on being accountable to oneself and ensuring the same of those around you. And one which prepares young men for the diverse and inclusive world of today. It is indeed a great day to be a Pike, and in 2021 and beyond, we will set out to show the world why.